got this interesting question, and it is saying figure 6.1 shows images of cells from two different organ systems. So we have cell A and cell B. All right. So the first question is saying state the names of the cells shown in figure 6.1. So this one is called the RBC, the red blood cell. Okay, so we can just say red blood cell, as simple as that. So when it comes to the function, transportation of oxygen from the lungs to the body tissues or the cells. Again, this one here is involved in the buffering system. When talk of buffering system, maintaining the alkalinity or acidity of blood. Apart from that one, it also transports carbon dioxide from the tissues where it is made and out of the lungs. So those are the functions. Apart from that one, it has also the surface area for attachment of, or this cell membrane here is the cell membrane of these red blood cells. It has antigens. So that is where you're going to find the antigens on the surface membrane of the red blood cells. Then when it comes to B, actually this one is a nerve, but when you say a nerve, you need to specify, because we have different types of nerves. What we call unipolar, bipolar, and under unipolar and bipolar, you're going to find that we are going to have the motor neuron and also the sensory neuron as well as the relay neurons. So this structure here is the structure of the motor neuron. So this is how the motor neuron looks like. So you need to be very careful in terms of when it comes to this one here. You need to specify. So it is a motor neuron. So that is how I'm supposed to answer that one. So let's see the next question. Alright, so for question B, it is saying complete the definition of the term tissue by inserting the missing words. So they have started for us. A tissue is a group of cells with similar dash working together to perform a shared what. So when you talk of a tissue is made up of similar structures of cells. Okay, it is made up of similar structures of cells that work together to perform a specific function. So a tissue is a group of cells with similar features. So that is what you're supposed to write here. So it has similar features. You don't want to use the term features, you can say structures with same structure or same features. So these, they work together to perform a shared function. So that is what you're supposed to write. As simple as that. So examples of tissues, we have ciliated tissue, the one which is found in the nasal cavity as well as in the fallopian tube. But from the ciliated tissue, we also have blood as a tissue. So blood is considered to be a tissue because it is made up of different cells like the red blood cell, white blood cells, those things, those are the cells. Right, so that is how you're supposed to answer B. Then as for question C, it is saying state the names of the organ systems these organs belong to. So we have the brain. Where does the brain belongs to in terms of the organ system? So here they are talking about the organ system. They are not saying you need to name the organ. They have given us these organs here. Now they are asking us to name where this belongs to. So the brain belongs to the central nervous system. So let me just explain why this one is considered to be part of the central nervous system. So why is this one considered to be a central nervous system? You and I, we know to say that the central nervous system is made up of the brain. Apart from the brain, it is also made up of the spinal cord. So those are the two things which makes up the central nervous system. Then we also have what we call the peripheral nervous system. So this peripheral nervous system, they found in the limbs, that is the upper limb as well as the lower limb. So those, they innervate the lower limb and the upper limb. So actually the peripheral nervous system is made up of nerve fibers. Then what about the stamen? The stamen or stamen, this one here, it is an organ which is found in plants. And actually this one here, it is a reproductive organ. So we are going to say plant reproductive organ. Or we can just not plant reproductive organ, but plant reproductive system to specify. So it is reproductive system. That is one thing that you need to know about this one. Then the last one, the ovary. These ovaries, they are involved in also reproduction, but this one is called the animal reproduction or human reproduction. Since humans, they are considered to be animals, so you can just say animal reproduction or animal reproductive system. Or if you want, you can just say human reproductive system. It is also okay. Alright, so you have gotten your 7 marks. Let's try to look at the next question. Then here we have an interesting question which is saying figure 2.1 shows an image of 2 sperm cells. Alright, so we have these 2 sperm cells. So let's see the question now. So the first question, which is question A, saying state 2 adaptive features of sperm. So what are 2 adaptive structures or features of the sperm? So as you can see here, just draw it lovely. So this is how a sperm looks like. So never mind, this one is just a rough sketch of a sperm. You're going to say like, this one is looking like a needle. No, that's okay, so the adaptive structures or the features of the sperm is that, as you can see, this one is a tail. So the tail is very, very important in that the tail is going to help now this sperm here to swim into the semen. So the semen, we talk of the semen, which is the seminal fluid. That is when the sperm swims as it move toward the fallopian tube for fertilization. Right, so apart from the sperm, let me just say, apart from the tail, it has also this portion here where you're going to find the mitochondria. And you know the function of the mitochondria, isn't it? The mitochondria provide energy for this sperm here to swim, actually provide nutrients. So let's start with the first one. We have talked about the tail. So that is the feature. Now, how is it adapted in terms of the function of the tail? So this tail here helps the sperm to swim. So it helps the sperm to swim. And let's write it here. To swim in the semen. So that is how you're supposed to write that one. And then the second part is it is made up of abundant mitochondria. So I'm going to say abundant. So when I say abundant, I just mean that this one here has a lot of mitochondria on the neck. So abundant mitochondria for energy. So you can say mitochondria or mitochondrion. So when you say mitochondrion, just say mitochondria. Let me remove that one. Okay, so mitochondria for energy. Just as simple as that. Alright, then the last question is saying, describe the process of fertilization. Okay, so what is fertilization? So you know to say it's a fusion of the male gamete and the female gamete. When you talk of the male gamete, you mean the sperm. When you talk of the female gamete, you talk of an ovum, right, or an egg. Now, you're describing the process of fertilization. What is fertilization? So you need to start with the process of fusion. So we can just say fusion of male gamete. So in this case here, you can say fusion of sperm. If you want, you can say male gamete, it's just okay. Fusion of sperm and an egg. Okay. Then once they fuse, what is going to happen? To produce now a zygote. So a zygote is produced when a sperm and an egg fuses. So to produce a zygote. Okay, zygote. So as simple as that. So that is how you're supposed to write that one. Alright, so let's see also. So let's jump to multiple choice questions. So we have the first one, which is saying the diagram shows the position of two endocrine glands in the human body. So we have these two kidneys. We have the right kidney and the left kidney. So the way you see these structures when it comes to biology and anatomy is just different. Your right hand side is the left hand side. Your right hand side is the left hand side of an organ or any structure when it comes to human anatomy and biology. So we have these two endocrine glands, and these are called the adrenal gland. Okay, so the adrenal glands. Adrenal, not like that. That's like that. So adrenal glands, isn't it? So this is A and L. Adrenal glands. So what is the function of these adrenal glands? So these adrenal glands, they release what we call the adrenaline, which falls under the epinephrine and norepinephrine. So those are hormones. So these, they release hormones, and these are ducted glands. So what is responsible of the body? What is the response, to the body? What is a response of the body to the hormone released from these glands? So these, they release two hormones, epinephrine and norepinephrine. So these, they respond due to the sympathetic stimulation. So we have what we call sympathetic stimulation and parasympathetic stimulation. So under sympathetic stimulation, you are going to find that these two adrenal glands, which is located under the superior part of each kidney, they are going to be stimulated, and they are going to release what we call adrenaline, which is a hormone, which is also called the epinephrine. So this epinephrine, it has an effect in terms of increasing the heart rate. Okay, it has an effect in terms of increasing the heart rate. So that's the reason why this one is called the fight or flight hormone. Okay, it is called fight or flight hormone. So let's say, for example, you are walking and then the cobra pops up. What is going to happen? These adrenal glands, they are going to release what we call the epinephrine or adrenaline to increase the heart rate, to stimulate the production of glucose. So here you're going to find that there will be increase in glucose concentration in your blood. So as you can see, the first option, it is saying decrease in heart rate. So this one is just the opposite. The heart rate has to increase because you have seen something. So that's the reason why whenever you're about to write a test, or whenever you're about to go somewhere, this one is going to be stimulated to make you active, to make you active, to increase the heart rate so that more oxygen can reach the body parts. So this one here, we can remove it. Then the second one is saying a decrease in blood glucose concentration. Even this one we can remove it, because as the heart rate increases, the body requires now more oxygen to be produced. So apart from that one, this one is saying an increase in a pupil dilator. Yeah, so this one can include it. And then the last one is saying the development of sexual or secondary sexual characteristics. So this one has no effect when it comes to development of secondary sexual characteristics. What hormone has an effect on this one here is let me just say the part which releases those hormones which are involved in development of secondary sexual characteristics. You can talk of the ovaries, which has the corpus of luteum, or we can say lutein, depending on your pronunciation. So the answer here is just going to be C. But they can also phrase this question here in a different or in the same way, but you're going to find that these they can be answers when they say increase in heart rate or increase in blood glucose concentration. The next question, we have a graph, this one here. So the question is saying the graph shows the number of water flies in a newly created pond. So a newly created pond. So here we have the number of flies, then the time. Alright, so as you can see here, as the graph is starting here, is just increasing, and then here they have increased in number up to this point here. Then from there now, there is the constant maintenance of these now flies. Okay, so from here at point Y, there is a decrease. Then it goes like that. So the question is saying, what event could be responsible for the shape of the graph at Y? So before we even answer this question, just try to think about it. We're talking about the pond, isn't it? We're talking about the pond. In that pond, there could be some predators for these flies, isn't it? So what is going to happen is that when they are predators, they are going to control now the accumulation of these flies. So as you can see here, there is a constant maintenance of these flies, those which are being produced and those which are being eaten by the predators. So what was happening here, maybe there was a death, the death rate increased, or there was a predator which was eating now these flies. So we have the first option, which is saying the addition of extra oxygenating plants to the pond. So these flies, they depend on these, they are aquatic animals, so they depend on oxygen which is dissolved in water. So when there is extra addition of plants, these plants, they also depend on oxygen. So there is going to be the competition in terms of the absorption of oxygen. So we are going to find that these flies, they are going to decrease in size because some are going to die due to the depletion of oxygen, which is hypoxia. So we can choose this one here. Let's see option B. So an increase in the death rate of the water fly. So an increase in the birth rate was happening at this point here. So we can remove this one here. Then an increase in the food supply, even this one here, we can remove it because it was happening at this point here. Then D, an addition of predators which fed on water flies. So this one here is now going to be qualified to be an answer. Of course, this one here, yeah, but there is just this. Okay. This one here can be an answer, but it is not always that addition of extra oxygenating plants. can cause the depletion of oxygen in this one here. As the word suggests here, oxygenating plants, meaning these they depend on oxygen, isn't it? But there are some few predators which are going to there are some few flays which are going to remain in water. So now, why is this one qualified to be an answer? The predators, they are going to feed on the same flay, the water flays, and you know to say the predators, they hunt for these flays, isn't it? But when it comes to this, they don't hunt, but they just compete for oxygen. But there are going to be other water flies which are going to survive. So this one is not going to be the answer. Actually, D is going to qualify to be an answer. Another interesting question, which is saying the diagram shows a cross section of a part of a leaf. Okay, so we have part labeled X. So the question is saying, what is the cell labeled X? So somehow or sometimes you're going to find that if you are too fast, you can say this one is a fact, isn't it? But they're talking about what cell is this one here. So this bundle here, the entire thing here, it is called the palisade tissue. But singular, this one is called a palisade cell or palisade mesophyll cell. So we are going to go for C. Then where is the epidermis? The epidermis is this part here. Now let me just do this. Okay, the epidermis is this part here, and this one is called the upper epidermis. What about the guard cells? The guard cells, we have this one here and this one here. So these are guard cells. Then the spongy mesophyll cell. The spongy mesophyll cell is this one here. So as a bundle, we can say these are spongy mesophyll tissues. Then also have the vesicular transport here, the vesicular transport, where you're going to find the xylem here at the center, surrounded by the phloems. So those are the things that need to know. Let's try to look at the last interesting question, which is coming from ecology or ecosystem. So it is saying the food web shows part of an ocean ecosystem. Okay, so we have the orca, and we have the seal, the sea lion, we have the sea otter, we have the sea urchin, we have the cube, we also have the algae, we have the mussel, we also have the clam, we also have the lawn, we also have the dragon. So as you can see here, the way the arrows are pointing here, they are pointing forward, going like this. So we have the kelp, algae, and diatom. These are called the producers because they are plants. So plants, they are producers. So these, they are producers. Okay, that is where now the energy flow starts from. Then these, they are going to give energy to these ones. We have the sea urchin, the mussel, the clam, and also the ram. So these, they are called the primary consumers. So the primary consumers, they get food from the producers. So they are called the primary consumers. Then we also have the sea otter. So the sea otter, these, they are called the secondary consumers. Apart from the sea otter, we also have the seal and the sea lion. These are also called the secondary consumers. So that is one thing that needs to understand here. Then lastly here we have the tertiary, which is the orca. Now, which arrow shows the number of secondary consumers and the number of tertiary consumers? in the food web. So we have the tertiary consumer here, which is just one. Then we have about three secondary consumers. So what is going to be the answer? So the number of secondary consumers, there are 3, which is this one here or this one here. Then the number of tertiary consumers, which is 1. So A qualified to be an answer. So that was the last one. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more videos.